All right, folks, welcome back. Today we're tackling a hot button issue, the debate around deportations, specifically how emotional manipulation is being used to shut down honest conversations, and why we're not even getting the full truth about the numbers. So stick around because this is something you need to hear. So let's talk about it. Have you ever noticed how discussions about deporting illegal aliens often get derailed by emotional arguments? It's a tactic we see time and time again. Instead of focusing on policy, law, or facts, some activists and politicians try to emotionally blackmail people into silence. They'll paint deportations as cruel or heartless, using extreme examples to make you feel guilty for even considering border security. But here's the thing. This is a deliberate strategy, and it's not as effective as they think. Now, don't get me wrong, emotions matter. Stories of families and individuals are meant to tug at our heartstrings. But when these stories are weaponized to shut down any talk of enforcing immigration laws, it's a problem. The goal isn't to solve the issue, it's to control the narrative. And it's time we called it out for what it is, manipulation. Look, most Americans want a fair and secure immigration system, but you can't have that without enforcing the laws. And to have an honest conversation, we need to push past these guilt trips and focus on the facts. Which brings me to the next big issue. If you're going to talk about immigration, you need to know the scale of the issue. But here's the kicker. We're not being told the truth about the number of illegal aliens in the United States. For over 20 years, the official estimate has been stuck at 10 to 12 million. So let that sink in. 2 decades ago, we were told there were 10 to 12 million undocumented, quote unquote, people in the country. And somehow that number hasn't changed. Does that sound believable to you? Now, come on, the math doesn't add up. Experts, including some from nonpartisan think tanks, have suggested the real number could be twice that. 20 million, maybe even 30 million or more. Now think about it. Millions have crossed the border since the early 2000s, and while some leave or are deported, many stay. Yet the government and media keep recycling the same tired 10 to 12 million figure. Why? Because admitting the real number might force a tougher conversation about enforcement, and they don't want that. Now, I'm not saying we know the exact number. Nobody does because the data is either not collected or not shared. But that's the point. If we're going to have a serious debate about deportations, border security, or immigration reform, we need honest numbers. Without them, we're just guessing. And that's not how you solve a problem this big. So why does this matter? Because the scale of illegal immigration affects everything. Schools, healthcare, jobs, housing, you name it. And when we're fed outdated or downright misleading numbers, it's impossible to plan or allocate resources fairly. Meanwhile, the emotional manipulation keeps the focus off these practical issues and onto guilt trips. It's a distraction, plain and simple. Now, here's the bottom line. We can have compassion and still demand accountability. We can care about people and still enforce our laws. But we can't do any of that if we're being manipulated or kept in the dark about the facts. It's time for transparency and an honest conversation. So, in any case, that's what I think. Let me know what you all think. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.